Joining us now is Mitchell Brown, Army veteran, and also runs Signal, Cygnal. Mitchell, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Charlie.
All right, so Mitchell, you're a Republican pollster and also a director of strategy at Signal. So Mitchell, let's open up just kind of with what you are seeing. What is the state of the race?
Yeah, so a little bit background on us. We're currently doing 2 states for the Trump campaign. We're tracking daily momentum in North Carolina and Pennsylvania for the team there. So I can talk about this kind of in 2 separate buckets here. For North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, there's no troubling signs for the Trump team. Looking like all 3 of those states are going to be around +3 for Trump. End of the day, could hit +5 if turnout does hit what we're thinking it might in those 3. But then when we talk about Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, Pennsylvania, I've seen a little bit of a negative trend in the past week and a half or so. But in Wisconsin and Michigan, I've actually seen a big increase for Trump to where those are the 2 Rust Belt states I'm most confident in right now.
Okay, so let's. What do you attribute the negative trend in Pennsylvania to be?
When you're looking at it, it's still the suburban white woman. When we go to that mainline Philadelphia suburbs there, we're seeing that bleeding a little worse than it was in 2020. And so Trump can, again, go run up the vote in Western Pennsylvania and some of those areas that he needs to and still have that be offset if the performance is worse in, say, Bucks County or any of the other mainline suburb areas.
So what demographic specifically of women? Is it older, middle-aged? What demographic?
So the best 2 indicators actually are one, just economic. So wealthy women and white women are the 2 that are, again, trouncing us right now. Trump is going to do better with every single demographic group in this country this year, except for the 3 Ws: white voters, women, and wealthy voters. And it's really amplified there in Pennsylvania. Women, it's about the 45 plus range that are high income households, which again, for our indication there is 125,000 and above is what we're classifying that as. That's the real sore spot.
What is it? Just, I mean, we can plenty of time to examine this after the election, but why is it that upper middle class white women are so loyal to the Democrat Party? What is that all about?
Well, it's interesting for them when you don't have to worry about, again, the price of groceries. You don't double check when you have to go fill up your tank. Life is very easy for you. So you have to find something to be invested in. And the Democrats, again, have done a great job of just making Roe the only issue and saying that we're attacking women. These women don't have anything. They have the luxury of not having to care about anything else. So that's why you see this. This is the opposite trend with lower income women and even younger women. We can talk about that in a second, just about voters under the age of 30 and how well Trump is doing with them. But when we go to Ohio and we go to Michigan and Wisconsin, where they don't have super affluent suburbs as they do in Pennsylvania, you could see there that when people have to deal with everyday issues, the abortion kind of topic slips down in popularity or importance to them, and the real things start to matter.
So yeah, let's dive deeper into that. How is Donald Trump doing with voters under 30?
So if you go back to 16 and you go back to 20, you look at what the actual split was. So the classification we have is 18 to 29. So Trump lost 18 to 29 voters by 31 points in 2016. By 27 in 2020, he's currently only down 9 nationally in our polling. So it's going to be single digit margin there for Trump, which is incredible. Because then you look at the next age group, 30 to 44, and this Gen Z audience is actually outperforming the millennial audience with Trump voters.
Yeah. So what do you attribute that to?
Again, it's a tough place to be. I'm 30, so I'm just outside of that group. I'm a younger millennial, and same issues that I deal with here is the future doesn't look too bright if you're an 18 to 29-year-old looking out there today. How are you ever going to purchase a home? How are you, again, going to compete in this labor marketplace when you're saddled with student loan debt because no one will stand up to the banks, where, again, the open borders causing massive rates of inflation, and it's impacting the job market there. How did these young kids who've also been told for the past 10 years, say, if we break down just the men in this age group, who've been told that everything about them is wrong for the past 10 years. That's what we're seeing now is that cultural kickback that, again, you guys have done a great job going out on the campuses, registering these people to vote, and you could see the shift. In 2020, again, people were a lot more scared to go out and say this, especially on the college campuses. And you can see now that kids are willing to talk about the issues that matter to them, and they see their future, and they see that another 4 years of this means another 4 years of them having to put the rest of their life on hold.
So help me understand now turnout. Seems that, is it correct that black turnout and Democrat-based turnout in certain parts of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia is down? Is that correct? And therefore, what does that mean?
Yeah, so for Philadelphia and Atlanta, it is down a couple 100,000 in both of those respectively. Now, again, it is a little hard to guess as to are those people still going to show up on election day and they just didn't happen to early vote. We don't really know there. In Wisconsin, that's the one why I'm so bullish on Wisconsin now, is that's the true one that we've seen a complete reversal in early voting turnout. It's deep red areas, especially like Green Bay when Trump was there 2 weeks ago. That's where you need to run up the score there, because obviously Milwaukee, we're going to have some election day stuff that comes in there that will be a little bit higher than what people are even predicting now. It looks, though, like Pennsylvania, I would probably guess that that's going to level out a little bit. Georgia, that is just the true nature of it. There's a bunch of people that we've done in focus groups down there with black voters inside Atlanta. They're going to have a decreased turnout compared to 2020. That's going to stay the same way that we're seeing right now.
So are we also now seeing increased rural Trump turnout in some of these states? So you kind of have an upper lower thing going on here.
Yeah, I think 5 of the 7 major swing states, there is an increased rural vote to date compared to 2020. So Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona all have that ratio right now, with urban vote down and rural vote up.
And so what then, if we were, I want to go around the horn though, but let me just ask you, if Kamala Harris were to win, what needs to happen? What in the next 24 hours needs to happen for Kamala Harris to become president?
There would need to be a massive push in Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Detroit, and Atlanta. There is no other way. Again, I still don't even think the Atlanta one would help that much. But if I was the Harris campaign, again, I would have taken every resource out of every other state and blast it into Philadelphia, Detroit, and Milwaukee. Because if you don't outsize that election day turnout tomorrow, there really isn't a pathway.
Do you see any indication that they are doing that?
You can see it in Pennsylvania, and I've tracked that in my data. They've done a good job in the past week and a half. That's why I think that one is going to even out in turnout. My data is not reflecting that in Michigan and in Wisconsin.
So what does that look like? I mean, buses, transportation. Is it the good old-fashioned kind of Democrat machinery in Philadelphia? Is that right?
Yeah, and then again, I assume we're going to see a lot of instances where polling places are kept open later in those places that something happens, and so anything for Philadelphia could happen. I was a poll observer in Milwaukee in 2020, and this is exactly what happened. Again, we kept the polls open 2 hours later. So I would expect a lot of that, because if outside the busing, having the food trucks, getting every single person they can out to vote in those 2 states, they don't have anything left to do. We've seen it. Pittsburgh in that western Pennsylvania area is already solidified, so that they can't do anything. That's why they pulled all their media out of North Carolina and put it into Pennsylvania, is they, again, need an over turnout tomorrow there specifically.
Excuse me. And now it seems as if, sorry, that there is a increased attention on the male-female divide this cycle. It seems like that gap is closing. Female turnout is actually down from where it was in 2020, despite all of the pandemonium here. And that could be best explained by the disappearance of the Dem indie voter, that kind of Democrat indie. Do you see that also in your data?
Yeah, the only thing of note with that low female number is it still has to be for Trump the right women that aren't showing up to vote. If it's the low propensity, lower income woman voter that is kind of more of that indie that we've seen recently, that's actually not a good thing. Those are actually women that have come to Trump more recently. That's what we're seeing a little bit in Michigan. Wisconsin, that group is still actually out voting what they did in 20. In Pennsylvania, that's, again, another sign of why I'm a little worried, is the decrease looks to be women in areas where we kind of do actually need them to show up. Now, when we're talking about the gender gap here, The real issue, if we have to narrow it down to, men age 35 to 50 that are white and educated are so close to becoming 50-50 voters in this country that the gender gap is almost mattering less than what I talked about before, being just the straight income gap.
Yeah, and it's remarkable kind of as those two things are diverging.